So these are nettles. Now nettles are better in springtime, um, because we're in the city and because it's warmer. They're already going to seed, but where I live, there are still fresh ones. Um, so nettles are edible. You do need gloves to pick them. I generally don't because I'm picking them all the time, so my hands are quite tough. But you pick, you can pick the top leaves, or you can take the top stalk off them. Now, as I said, this one is a little old. You kind of like to pick them before the seeds come, nice and fresh and green. So you can use the leaves. You have to cook the leaves because you can't eat them raw because they have a sting. They have, if we look closely, they have little hairs on the leaves, and those hairs have a little sac of acid that bursts when you touch them, and that's what causes the sting. It's formic acid. But if you cook them for 8 to 10 minutes, if you put even pour boiling water over them for 8 to 10 minutes, the sting is gone. So I use them mostly to make soup. So to make nettle soup, it's very easy. You just need a large bowl of leaves, say 5 potatoes, an onion, and a litre of stock, and you just peel your onion and your potatoes and chop them up. Cook your onion and potatoes until the onions are soft. Add a litre of stock, salt and pepper, and cook them until the potatoes are just getting soft, and then you pop in your nettles and then cook them for another, say, 10 minutes, and then just put them in a blender. Again, you need help from an adult to do that, but you can make a really delicious soup, and it's really tasty and very good for your health. Like often if we're coming down with a cold or we're not feeling well at home, we'll often make nettle soup, and it has so much nutrition. It's really, really good for you, and it's something you can make nearly all year round. So say if you have nettles in the garden and they're starting to look like this and they're going to seed, you can put them back and then you'll get new shoots. So we would eat them from about February until November, so nearly all year round. I also made nettle gnocchi this week, and nettle tea, and what else do I make? Pesto. If you want to make a pesto, you have to get rid of the sting first. So you pour boiling water over them, leave them for about 10 minutes, and then rinse them under the cold tap, squeeze out the water, and then you can make a pesto with oil and nuts and cheese and garlic. Just whiz it all up in the blender. You can make a lovely pesto, but do make sure to blanch them first or you'll get stung. Getting stung on the lips by nettles is one of the worst things that can happen, and I know because it happened to me. So they're wonderful, and they're everywhere. They're one of our best wild foods. So this is a birch tree. One of the ways to identify it is to look at the bark. It's kind of papery. You feel it like that. It's quite smooth, and in fact, it used to be used as paper long ago, before people used the paper we use today. Another thing it used to be used for was peel off the bark, and it would be used as tinder. And there's lots of little plants growing here by the water. This one here is ribwort plantain. So you can see it has ribs running along the leaves. It's quite dry. It's a wonderful leaf for any kind of bite. You can see my hands are quite covered in cuts and scratches because I work outside and I carry a knife and I'm a little bit clumsy. So this often comes in handy. If you get a sting or a bite or a thorn, it's very good for cleaning wounds, for drawing out thorns, for getting rid of an infection. So, or even if you get a nettle sting, you can just crush this leaf up in your hands until you feel it gets quite juicy, and then you can just rub it onto the sting or the cut. You can also make a tea out of it. And another thing, long ago, before Fortnite and all the other things that our children play these days, children had lots of different games that they used to play with plants, and one game was soldiers. Now, I don't know if Barry and I can have a fight and film at the same time. So the object of the game is to knock the other person's head off. It's like Fortnite. So you have to... Oh, I won. So that's a game called Soldiers. But if you look in books, or if you speak to your grandparents, or if you're lucky enough to have great grandparents, they'll often know games you can play with plants. There are loads of them. And you can also eat the seeds off these as well. They're not quite ready yet, but when they turn brown, you can eat the seeds off the plantain. Yeah, so this is an elder. This is one of the most tasty things you'll find, and it's a real wild food of summer. You can see that I've already been picking some. So I've got elderflower and honeysuckle in there. So if you look at the flowers, you want to find let me see, you want to find ones that are just perfect. Like this one is over. It's gone over, but you want them nice and white with still with the yellow pollen. So there's still time to go out and find elder wherever you live. You don't use the leaves. The leaves are kind of slightly poisonous. But the flowers you can use to make elderflower cordial. So if you look online for a recipe, all you need is elderflowers, sugar, lemon and water. You can use citric acid if you want the elderflower cordial to last, but it's not going to last, is it? You know. And there's another really cool drink you can make. It's called champagne, but it's not alcoholic. You just need, I think it's like 2 heads of elderflower, some sugar, I think 2 tablespoons of vinegar, some water, and you make the elderflower champagne, and then you bottle it, and then the natural yeast on the petals ferments, and you get a lovely fizzy like elderflower lemonade after. It could be like 3 days, it could be 7 days, it could be 2 weeks, but it can happen quite quickly. So you should get one of your parents or a guardian to help you, because a kind of gas builds up in the bottle, and if you don't release the gas, then your bottles can explode. So do it with an adult. But if you look online, it's so easy to find recipes for all these things. But elderflower champagne is delicious, and it's really cooling on a summer's day. There's another wonderful thing you can do also. You can make elderflower fritters. So you keep your flour whole, and you make a batter, and you just dip them into the batter, and then you just deep fry them for less than a minute, and then you can make a lovely elderflower fritter, and you can serve it with fruit or fresh cream or something like that. So we're very lucky these days because you can look up the recipes for everything online, but you do need help with all of those because you've got boiling fat there as well and exploding bottles, so it's very dangerous. So don't do it on your own. And then if you don't pick all of your flowers and you wait until September, October, you'll get elderberries. So there's bunches of these tiny, dark, wine-coloured berries. You can cook those up and make lovely syrups. They're a natural antiviral. They're very good for you. They're a really lovely, tasty drink you can have in the winter time. So that's just from the elder tree. You can get all of that. And they will be around for the next, they'll be around till about the end of June, and then they're gone till next year. So that's what happens with wild food. It's not like the food you buy in the shops. Everything has its season, so you go and you pick the elderflower now, and then that will be gone, but then something else will come, like the blackberries, the wild blueberries, wild raspberries, strawberries. So there's always something new coming, but you can't buy the food in the shop, and that's kind of the magic of wild food. You have to go and look for it, and it's kind of an adventure. It's more exciting than going to the supermarket. Yes. So this is a dandelion leaf, quite a big one. Dandelion, you can eat all parts of a dandelion. You can eat the yellow flowers when they come out in April. You can eat the leaves, and you can also eat the root. So the leaves are quite bitter. If you were to eat one, they're quite bitter. You can cook them, you can chop them up, put them into a salad. You can use them to make a tea. They're very good for you, and they're very nutritious. The flowers you could put into salads, or you can make a cordial out of them. Generally don't pick too many of the flowers because they're one of the first foods that the bees take in the springtime. And then a really cool thing you can do with the roots of dandelion in autumn is you need to get a fork or a spade, and you find your dandelion plant, and then you dig up the root and you wash it carefully, wash off all the mud, then you dry it, you put it into the oven and roast it. And you'll roast it, I can't think exactly how long you roast it for, but you'll get a smell a little bit like roasting coffee. And then you take it out of the oven and you ground it up, and it's like making a kind of a coffee. So it's like a dandelion root coffee, and it tastes really good, and it's a very nutritious drink, and it's very good for your liver. So most people would have dandelion in their garden, and it's a really safe plant, and you can eat all parts of it. You'll find it in all the hedgerows in July. The flowers haven't come out yet, but when they do come out, they're kind of creamy white flowers. They look a little bit like elderflower. And this is the plant where aspirin was originally discovered in the 1860s. So this plant will help to relieve pain and inflammation. What I do with it is when the flowers come out, I cut them and I hang them upside down in the kitchen in bunches, and it smells really lovely, like hay and vanilla. And then I collect up the dry flowers, and then I use them for teas throughout the winter. You can also use it in desserts, or you can make cordials out of it. So keep an eye out for it in July. That's meadowsweet. The canal here, you can see that there is a tall plant that's kind of turning brown now, so that's called Alexander's. That would have been a plant that was brought into Ireland it would have been brought into England by the Romans. They would have grown it in the garden, and then it was brought to Ireland after that. The leaves taste a little bit like celery, and then you can see all along the canal the seeds are forming on the plants, and that's what they'll turn out like. They're small black seeds, and they would taste a little bit like black pepper. To be honest, they're not terribly nice, but if you were stuck out in the wild and needed black pepper, that would be the one to go for. It's also worth noting that there are some plants that are quite poisonous. So there are some plants that, I can't actually see one right at the moment, but there are some plants that would be so poisonous that even to eat a very small amount would cause death, because they're so toxic, and there's nothing that can be done if you eat them. So for that reason, it's very important to only pick what you know. So you probably know nettles, blackberries, maybe raspberries. But if you're interested in learning more and you're not sure about what you're picking, it's good to get a book, a good wild food foraging book, or to find an adult who knows about foraging and ask them to teach you. But you should never put anything in your mouth if you don't know what it is, because, as I said, it can be very dangerous. And it's also very important to wash what you pick as well. So, you should ideally go to a nice clean place to forage, where people wouldn't be walking dogs, where there wouldn't be too many cars or anything like that. So nice out in the forests, or in a nice clean meadow, or a path, or even a quiet road where there are no cars. And then you when you harvest your leaves, you take them home and you wash them before you use them. But always, it's always best to let an adult know what you're doing, and to maybe find an adult who's interested in foraging, and to learn from them. So I always find it's best to learn from another person. And then also, when you are harvesting wild food, I usually carry a scissors or a knife, and so if I was cutting leaves, I would cut them with a scissors, so I'm not pulling up the root, and I would harvest a little here and a little there, and I wouldn't take everything that's growing there, because you're sharing the wild food with the other animals that are around, the birds and insects. So you take a little here and a little there. And it's also a good idea to actually grow wild food in your own garden if you have one. So say if you have a patch of nettles, you can look after them, and you can harvest from them, and they'll keep growing. And you can also bring in other wild plants. You can collect seeds and put them in your garden and make your own little wild garden. And the good thing about wild food is that you don't really need to look after it, because it's native. So the wild food that's growing around here, doesn't need humans to look after it. It doesn't need fertilizer or chemicals. It doesn't need to be watered, and it can survive all the different seasons in Ireland. So you can be a lazy gardener and you can have a full garden full of food. You can just sit there and enjoy it. One of the wonderful things about foraging is you never really know what you're going to find. Sometimes if you go out for a walk, just be walking along, you find something lovely. So I found some lovely water mint. It's a wild mint that grows in damp places along the river banks, sometimes in the river or at the edges of streams. It looks quite like the mint that grows in your garden. It's very strong, it's a lovely flavour. We put it into tea, we make syrups out of it. We also made some chocolate chip water mint ice cream recently, which was lovely. It will get a kind of a lilac coloured flower, the bees love it. And when I'm putting it again, I would use a knife or a scissors. See, where's my knife? I'll use my knife and I'll just cut it like that, and then the mint will continue to grow. I have places along the river where I put mint regularly, and I just put it like that, and then it grows back, and sometimes it gets an extra 1 or 2 shoots as well, just because I've put it, it gets more bushy, so it doesn't do it any harm. So that's a lovely mint to look out for if you're along the river or along the canal. So we're back just where we started on the Grand Canal, and we had a lovely walk thanks to Waterways Ireland. We look after all of the canals, and found lots of wild food, and I hope that you get the chance to go out foraging yourselves and maybe make some melon jar cordial this week or some lentil soup, and get a chance to make some blackberry jam in the summer. And always remember to be sure about what you're